Welcome in, everyone. Episode 24. There's only 24 hours in the day, and there's only people in the top 24 of all the people that I know that I wanted for this next podcast to be. And so we have Lewis Johnson. So, Lewis, you're a football enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
You're the founder of the Commanders Lounge on Facebook. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I found you. And the
Okay.
former host of DC Sports Talk. I'm gonna say you may enjoy the Washington D.C. area. Something tells me that there's nothing we can do to pull you
Just a
out of
little
it.
bit. Just a little bit. Just a
All
little
right,
bit, man.
that's
Just
good.
a little bit.
That's good. We're gonna get to that.
All
So
right.
let's start with it. So born and raised in the D.C. area, like what's those backgrounds looking like?
Born and raised in the DC area, man. Southeast DC.
Yeah,
And spent a lot of time just tethering on the line of DC. Moved around a couple of times. Oxon Hill,
yeah,
Landover,
yeah.
different places like that. Forestville, District Heights.
Mhm.
Ended up going to Suitland High School, where I went to Suitland all 4 years. School of
Yeah.
the Arts. Actually, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I have a creative flair. I have a graphic design degree, a Bachelor of Arts from VCU. So I
Oh,
spent a lot of my childhood running around in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, the DMV as we call it.
yes,
And
sir.
because
Yes, sir.
we were able to jump on the train, so we had access to places that you usually wouldn't have access to if you um, didn't have a car. So we were able to jump on the metro train and kind of go anywhere we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Man, we had Pentagon City, and then we were over here at Union Station. We were over
Uh-huh.
here doing this and doing that. So just running around and just kind of got really familiar with the area and just fell in love with the area. It's my hometown. So
What years were you down there at VCU for that Bachelor's of Art?
I started at VCU in the fall of '92, and I came out spring of '96.
No. I
So
was there in 93.
you were there in '93. Get out of here, man!
Yeah, I came in September or fall of 93
Wow,
because I grew up in Richmond, Virginia.
nice.
Over
Yeah, I spent
there,
some
over
time
there.
there after VCU. So yeah, we got some catching up to do after we get
Yeah, we
offline.
do. Yeah, we do. There's a lot of talent, us
Hmm.
included, during that time.
During that
And
time.
I'll
Yeah.
just do a spoiler alert. I can already tell we ain't gonna get it all in. I'm gonna have you back. But I'm gonna just drop
For
two
sure.
names
For
that were
sure.
on campus with us,
Uh-huh.
and our fans, people outside of the DMV, may not. We'll see. They're national powers. Boris Koju and Mad Skills,
Didn't know.
the
Yeah. A
exact
lot of people
same
don't know
time.
that. Yeah, man.
Yes.
I remember meeting Bo. We called him Bo
Uh
in
huh.
school in front of the library one day. A mutual friend of mine, one of my buddies, John, and he introduced me to him. And he said, man, this guy's from Germany. He had a really heavy German accent. We talking 92, 93 ish.
Yes, sir.
And I was like, man, who is this cat? You know, he's coming in on this tall guy, on the tennis. He was on the tennis scholarship, believe it or
Yes, sir.
not. He
Yes,
was
sir.
not an actor back in 92, 93. He hadn't started acting yet. He's coming in as this heavy recruited tennis athlete. So
Yes.
that's where I met him. And, I kind of saw him here and there around campus. It was just a what's up, and kept it going. Really didn't share any stories or any conversation, but it was just more of a mutual head nod and, kind of went on our merry way.
That's crazy. So someone told me, a mutual friend like you,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
said, "Hey, there's a guy on the tennis team from Germany. I was born in Germany.
Wow.
I
You
speak
spoke
in the
German. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, yo, let me go. Who is this?
Yeah.
Rolled up on him one day. I think we got lucky. He was coming out of one of the bubbles, so it was like late December, whatever. It's cold, the
Hmm.
tennis bubble, and
Hmm.
just was like, hey, and we started talking, and that was the coolest thing. Now, all he was just a German brother tennis player.
That's
That's
it.
all it was at
That's
that.
it. That's it. He
Now,
wasn't Boris yet.
years later, I looked up and I was like,
So wait a minute. What the school with this cat? He's on TV. Matter of fact, I think his first movie was I don't know if it was Soul Food or one movie he was in. I was like, yo, this guy with the VCU with me.
yeah,
He's on the big screen.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
he blew up. All
We
right.
had some
All
talent
right.
over there. So I
Uh-huh.
I went there. I thought I was gonna be a physical therapy major till I realized, oh, you got to study for that. Uh, Lou, I'm on the front row of biology class, 8
Uh-huh.
a.m. class,
Ooh.
falling asleep. Now,
8
see,
o'clock
I'm on the
class.
front row, so like in my mind, I'm giving myself to it. Them
Not sleep, you
eyelids,
not.
though.
Not sleep, you not.
So I did not do good. And then I switched, and now I was like, yo, what am I going to do now? Because I just physical therapist, made a lot of money. You know, that's what I wanted. All of our friends, most of your friends probably would. What about all them kids walking around with the tackle box and the big easel
That was
book
me.
bag
That was
slung
me.
across?
That was me.
You were one
I
of
had
them.
I had a
Well,
great tackle box.
yep.
And back in, of course, we back in the day, but they told us, you want to have something that you can keep all of your materials in. So we had,
Yes.
of course, the charcoal, the
Yes.
pencils, the paint, all the stuff
Yes.
that we needed. And the tackle box was the best way to kind of handle it back then. So yeah, I was one of those people carrying around the tackle box around campus.
So two of my friends, that's what they did. And they saw I was lost. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I got to switch majors, though. This wasn't working. And Nakia King, if you remember that name.
I know her. I think I know her.
No, that's a him.
Oh, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no, he got that a lot. Yeah, he was from.
That was a him. I'm sorry.
So maybe you dipped down into Virginia with a little bit of your football love. Do you remember in those days, Central Lunenburg High School? You ever hearing about them? They were a powerhouse, bunch of country boys. Yeah. But every stereotype applied to them.
Oh, wow.
Pushing cows.
Wow.
But anyway, so he was like, man, you should try out and come do art. And it was him, a girl I knew. And I was like, yeah, why don't I give it a try? So I had to draw, I had to submit my portfolio to them, draw a life standing. They accepted me. I didn't know I had skill. And then I joined, loved it, man. Loved it. So wow, that's
yeah, we got some stories.
Yeah, we're gonna come back.
We got some stories.
We're not done. We're gonna come back to that. But for those listeners that are from the Northern Virginia area, some of those down there by Richmond area, they're catching some of those vibes. We're gonna leave them hanging with that. We're gonna flush all that out right now.
Yeah, and then you alluded to Mad Skills. Mad Skills was working in a parking deck.
Yep.
On Broad.
Do you remember what he drove?
No.
Oh, a lime green, a faded lime green. He needed a paint job. Honda Civic. Yeah. The little chopped off back one with a bunch of stickers on it. When he had the dreads, he still had the dreads. So did you know he was a dancer? His nickname was Crazy Legs.
Crazy Legs. I didn't know that. I probably saw him and didn't really make I didn't. I just probably saw him at of course we had the Commons Theater back in those days. A couple of the spots around Richmond. I probably saw him in action, but really didn't realize who it was until later on. I probably didn't really know it was Mad Skills until I was probably a junior or senior getting ready to come out of ECU. But yeah.
Let me help you out. I don't know when he blew up because I left. I ended up going in the Army.
Okay.
Then I also realized my mama taking out loans. And even when I was falling asleep in art history class.
Probably the same one I was in. Was it Phil Meggs? Phil Meggs? Was it Phil Meggs?
I'm gonna have to go back and look at the transcript to tell you some of those instructors.
Yeah, it's probably Phil Meggs. It was a big class, like 300 people in there.
And I was hurting, man. Again, I ended up on the front row thinking I'm good.
And they turned the lights off in there too.
To hold them things open. So I just felt like I needed. R. Kelly 12 play came out, if you remember. Your boy was distracted. There was some distractions going on. So he came to me. Mad Skills came to me, and he said, yo, Donato, I heard you're going to be in the talent show. Can me and my boy dance for you? You know what I said to him, Lou? Can you dance? You dance?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah. And then my boy, so I think Nakia knew him, this girl, Sherry Lynn. Her last name. She was an art major. She was in before me, but it seems like we were a year behind you. We all came in as freshmen. But you won't mess around with a freshman. You was a sophomore. You was a big dog.
Man, I was cool with everybody, man. So we probably crossed paths.
Probably
over in the Pollock building.
We ain't done with that. We got to flesh that out. So then he said it, and then they vouched for him that he was legit, him and his boy. And he went by Crazy Legs. That's how he was introduced to me. I heard Mad Skills was later when the backpack, his head nod dropped, and I was like, where did dreads go? Because his high school was my rival high school too. I think he was a year ahead of me though. I believe he was a year ahead of me. So as luck would have it, we ended up saying, yeah, man, you could dance. We won that talent show.
Crazy.
Every morning.
Crazy. I
Every
gotta see.
morning.
I gotta see the award you got. What did you get? Like a
He
medal or
needed,
something?
man. Was it Sam Goody at that time?
Sam
Remember?
Goody.
Man,
Yeah, Sam
that's all they
Goody.
gave us. They gave us gift certificates to Sam Goody. I think there's 4 people in my squad. I think we ain't get nothing to Crazy Leg, but because he was an add-on. But me and my boys, one
Yeah.
girl, we all got. I think we got one gift certificate for all of us, just like $25.
Oh, so y'all just split it. Yeah.
And that's all we did. 25 for you, 25 for you, 25 for you, and
Yeah.
I think that's how we did it.
That's how you split
And
it up.
and I don't even know if I used mine. I think I gave it away because I was going to what was over on South Side, that hot joint. What was that one called?
Cloverleaf
It was
Mall.
like what?
Cloverleaf Mall.
No, it was like right off of Hull Street. It was a if you're heading out of town, it'll be on the right side. It's gonna come to me, but it was the spot.
Southside Plaza.
I think that was South
I think
Side Plaza.
it might have been Southside Plaza, like Hall Street and Belt Boulevard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
Do you-
like a big shopping center, but all the stores you had to get to them from the outside.
Right, and they had a Sam Goody equivalent, but it was for the culture. They were legit. They were legit. But yeah, man.
Yeah, you talking about Southside Plaza. Yeah.
Yeah, yo, that was nice, man. I was like, well, hey, we appreciate you coming down. Man, y'all had a reputation of DC boys, man. Y'all had a reputation, man. But I appreciate you coming down to Richmond, not causing no trouble.
What kind of reputation
Rest
do
of
we
y'all
have,
DC
bro?
boys. Hey, we're gonna flush this out because
we're talking about that. We'll table that. We'll table that.
Yeah, we come back. We're coming back to that. So let's get to a little bit more about you. All right.
Okay.
Bro, there have been a lot of trials and tribulations you had to go through as a Commanders fan. But you decided to start a group on Facebook, the Commanders Lounge. Talk to me about how that came about.
Well, I was a part of another group that I'll leave them anonymous at this point because
Yes, sir.
there were a lot of fans in that group that were really treacherous in the way that they handled each other. And I was coming on live. I actually started DC Sports Talk out of that group because I was coming on live in that group. And I started generating a lot of buzz because I was going live before games, after games, during training camp, during the off season, talking about player evaluations, player transactions, and I started developing a following. And somebody rubbed me wrong one day and really started, really antagonizing me in the group. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to deal with this. I want to start my own group. I'm going to take all the folk that follow me and we're going to move to another group where you can be a fan and have class. You can be a fan and respect one another. You can be a fan and be funny. You can be a fan and have your opinion and not feel as though somebody's going to bully you because they disagree with your opinion. This is all the team that we know and love. So I started it off probably 2019-ish.
Okay.
And it's grown today to over 5,000 fans. And so, we have rules before you can get in the group. Hey, no bullying, no hate speech, things of that nature. So you have to accept all those different components before you can even join the group. And so today, it's been a real major thing because I've met a lot of people. As a matter of fact, just the other day, I said, hey, check in, let me know where everybody's from. We have people all over the world checking in. Hey, I'm from Maryland. Hey, I'm from North Carolina. I'm from California. I'm from Florida. I'm from, somewhere overseas. And and so it's like, this is not just a football group, it's a family. And I think we come together because we all support a sport and we all support a specific team that plays this sport. And that team has kind of brought us together. And we can talk, we can share our frustrations, we can share our tears, we can share our victories and those victory Mondays whenever we have them. And so that kind of was the genesis of the group, just being birthed out of another group that was, kind of getting a little bit out of hand in the way it was being handled. So I decided that I wanted to start a group. And sometimes you have to sit in the lounge and you really have to kind of just talk through the things that you're dealing with. It really kind of started off as kind of a therapy session, looking on the bright side. Just this past week, we kind of lost against who we lose against? We lost against the Seahawks. And so I had to be the voice of reason and say, hey, you know what? We knew we had a rookie quarterback. We knew that Ron Rivera is kind of like on his last leg. We got a new offensive coordinator. We got a new owner. We got to look at the bright side of things. We're turning a corner. It's going to take us some time to get there and rebuild. And so having to talk people off the ledge when they traded Montez Sweat, talk them off the ledge when they traded Chase Young. People are going off, people are going, getting upset, they're getting frustrated.
Yeah.
It's like, look, guys, we can't control the outcomes of these games. We can't control the outcomes of these front office transactions. So what we got to do is we got to sit back and we've got to trust the process, and let's stand behind our guys and support them no matter what happens.
Well, mission accomplished. It is a classy, well-run group. I have to applaud you on that and how it's handled. So good job on wrangling and maybe ejecting whatever you've had to do to keep it classy. I'm going to tell you this. There are a lot of people jealous of this organization because of the amount of rings we have. There are a lot of people jealous of us because we got 4 wins. How many people would like to have 4 wins? They do not. There's enough people that we can direct our hate to. I honestly can't even tell you. I have never had drama with another Commanders fan.
Oh my gosh!
Look,
oh my gosh!
We got a difference of opinion. It's just that, but
it's just
that. It get personal.
It gets real personal. It gets to be cussing and fussing. It gets to be disrespectful, and we got to come back to the common denominator. And the common denominator is the team that we grew up on, the team that we love, formerly known as the Redskins, formerly known as the Washington Football Team, and now they're the Commanders. And so, if you've been there to follow them through this transition, and if you've been tracking them throughout the days that they did win those championships that you alluded to, then you kind of have some love and you have some hope and you have some support for them. But we can't bash each other. But at the end of the day, we still gonna follow the game. We still gonna watch the game. We still gonna see what's going on with the team. So why not be and develop a camaraderie with each other and develop a family-oriented attitude and characteristic, and let's treat each other with respect and dignity, and still voice our opinion without being unruly.
I used to live in Los Angeles, and I found I'll just call it Commander's Lounge out there, and it was amazing. It was so nice to go in there on Sundays to watch the game, and I was shocked. Just one, that I found it, and 2, the amount of people that went. And you know what? It was us. It was cats from DC. It was cats from Virginia. It was cats from North Carolina. It was cats from Texas. Wow. Because they grew up Cowboy fans, and you don't want to be a Cowboy fan because everybody is.
Yeah.
So you kind of whatever was the genesis, it was nice, and it's nice to hear them origin stories. Some dude from Seattle. You were a fan.
To hear how it came to be. Absolutely.
It was
absolutely.
Amazing. And
because we're a melting pot. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no.
Because DC is such a melting pot of so many different backgrounds, and people come here from the military. They come here for work. They come here from all over the world, and so they get to DC and they start feeling the vibe.
Yes,
they start feeling the this is what DC is run by. We run by football. And when the Nationals won the World Series that year, it was crazy. And then when the Capitals won the championship that year, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so if you've lived through that and you've been in the area when those things jumped off and when those things occurred, I mean, you grow to love the city because the city is very, very supportive and very passionate for these teams that we know and love.
Speaking of passionate, Lujo, when you look back at this video, you're going to notice right before all that, I started squirming in my seat. Bro, stay on topic. We got to stay with the Commanders. Don't be dropping the Nationals and the Capitals on me.
We just talking about the area. We're talking about the area.
Yeah, listen, that's another one. We're going to do this again.
That's another table.
Sidetrack me because there's there's so much to talk about. We got
there's so much to talk about.
The years, bro. All right. So this is not a flex, but a couple weeks ago, I interviewed Doug Williams.
Oh, nice.
On my radio show. Nice. And he actually wants to come on a podcast, and looking forward to the scheduling of that. I'd like to do a group think with that.
Love to.
Yeah. There's a old college friend from the college I went to after VCU when I came out of the Army. He's a Nova guy up there in Dale City. So yeah, with us, it'd be great. But what Doug said and what the organization is doing with him. So first of all, he is happy that the organization has him around. At the same time I was interviewing Doug Williams, Earl Campbell was on at the same time. Well, they know each other. That was class of 1977. They came into the league together. They were up against each other as seniors for the Heisman or that year. Doug was, I think, finished sixth. Earl was number one. But when you look back at that list, at Doug's numbers, throwing for like 38 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And the people that's in between them,
crazy.
Doug went to Grambling.
Yeah.
It was the 70s. It was a different time. The view of black quarterbacks. I mean, different know your history. Not gonna get into
space.
Too much of that, but but what I would like to say is he talked to me about Magic Johnson. And one of the things I said to Doug, good energy, by the way, because I was able to bring it to him like this. I was like, so Doug, what's it feel like to be in the room where you normally get all the attention, and all of a sudden Magic Johnson enters the room and it's a vacuum, shoot, and they go over to him.
Yeah.
You know what he said? He said some amazing things, and I want to get your take on this. He said, well, first of all, that's Magic Johnson. And when he comes in the room, he knows that. But what he always does is he always says, hey, I know y'all not going to overlook Super Bowl MVP champion winning Doug Williams over there. Make sure y'all give it to my guy.
Yeah.
He's always that complimentary. He's not, he doesn't need to rush to take all of the air out of the room. What say you? How do you feel? Because when I was out in Los Angeles, he was in charge of he was still with the Lakers. He was with the Dodgers. So I know I already have a feeling. When you knew that Magic Johnson was coming in, what were your thoughts?
When I found out that Magic Johnson was coming in, I immediately got invigorated. Yeah. Because one, I mean, he's played in the NBA 13 seasons, retired, very successful in just him being an athlete and showing his leadership prowess on the floor.
Yes.
After basketball, he's shown leadership prowess with the Lakers organization. And he also had a lot of business ventures going on when you talk about the Magic Johnson theaters and Starbucks and some of the things that he's done from a venture capitalist standpoint and being able to build franchises and buy into franchises and just really seeing his track record as a successful man. One. Yes. Two, being able to dissect it even more and to see that he was, of course, by face value, he was a successful black man.
Yeah.
And so we've seen very few of those in DC on that level. We've seen them come and go. We've seen the Bob Johnsons and the BETs, and we've seen players like Marion Barry and other city officials and the Governor Wilders of the world. And we've seen people on that level politically, and we've seen stars come through, but we haven't seen an all-star athlete like Magic. Of course, we saw Jordan when he was here for a stint with the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a level of ownership.
Not to distract me again.
Yeah, I'm about to distract you again. We're going back to the days that Jordan actually came and played for the Wizards, but I'm not deflecting off the question.
Okay.
When I saw that Magic Johnson was in the deal or had a stake in the ownership as it related to Josh Harris and some of the other guys, I was totally blown away and excited about it because he was a good businessman and he seemed to be like a very successful black man. Not that his ethnicity it matters, but it should matter because he is a model to other African-American men or men of African-American descent who seek to be successful. I think we can use Magic Johnson as a very successful business person. And the thing I like about Magic Johnson is he's smart. He makes good decisions and he's very intuitive with his business outlook. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to see a man of his stature being an NBA champion and a very successful businessman come to DC and be a part of that deal. And he's been vocal. If you've been following him on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, he's been very vocal as to his thoughts about the play on the field and what should have happened and what could have happened. And he's watching. He's been at some of the home games. He was at the party to celebrate the new ownership. And so I feel as though he's really trying to feel the vibe of the city. And I think he's in tune to the fans and he's got the ear of the fans. And so I think he's going to do well. Of course, it's going to take time, but it's good to see somebody of his stature, having been an NBA champion, an NBA All-Star, to be involved with the with the ownership group that bought the team.
You know, this is where I disagree with the Commanders fan. I think it is important, very important, of his ethnicity. Of the 5 largest ethnic groups in Washington, D.C., 44% are what, Black or African American, whatever the person goes with.
Mm-hmm.
Dare I say, strategic of the organization. I mean, it's a marvelous move.
I would agree.
It's a useful move because let's think about it. Anything that you can do that would help the ferocity of fandom in that city going forward with a new ownership group, do it. Bring in new fans. You can always grow. There's new people moving to the area. Energize them. So I think it was a critical move for them in what they did. I'm sure they didn't need him. I think they wanted him. I bet they reached out to him. I highly doubt the other way.
So?
I believe he probably could have gone somewhere else. New York.
Well, there weren't really NFL teams for sale. And I think when that door opens, you have folks waiting in the wings. I mean, you have a lot of million.
Well, I was going to say, you don't think when Charlotte had an opportunity, you don't think someone gave him a look? Jordan was already in the city with the Bobcats, and then
I think you have to look at the region, and DC and the DMV boasts some of the richest counties in the world. Not to say that Charlotte is not a very wealthy city in the South.
Yes.
But per capita, PG County is the richest Black county in America. Okay.
Yes.
Then you have to look at 3 counties that are in the top 5 in Arlington, Fairfax.
Yeah.
And there's another one there as well. You're talking about Northern Virginia.
Yes. Yeah.
And so add all that up.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at DC as the nation's capital. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a part of the nation's capital? And so, you know, it's a lot more eyes on the nation's capital because of the politics, the White House, Congress, the Senate. And then you got 3 major league teams playing in DC.
Great
baseball,
city.
football,
Great city.
basketball. And then you got hockey. So you got 4 national. And guess what? The Nationals just won within the last 5 years.
I was about to say that.
And the Capitals have won within the last 5 years. And so you're talking about exactly, you know, and bless those franchises because they're terrible now.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a culture.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at culture and you're looking at cities that have won championships in other sports, you have to bring those into the equation. And so when this team became available, I know there were a lot of millionaires and billionaires who had the conversation with their staff about the possibilities and the feasibility of should we put our names in the hat to, of course, try to acquire this organization. Once Dan Snyder had gone to Bank of America, I knew it was all but done. It was just a matter of time. When they said they're thinking about selling a team, I knew it was just a matter of getting ducks in a row, making sure that the transaction actually was being transacted by a neutral party, of course, a bank. But nevertheless, it was good to see him involved in it as a sound of Blackness, if you will, because DC was known as Chocolate City at one point.
Yes.
But I do think it's not just about Black. I think it's about just overall success because he's had to play and share the stage and share the basketball court with other races, whether it was Kukok or whatever, the players that he played with in LA. They were diverse. It wasn't just a whole Black team. Now, of course, we know he played with AC Green and Worthy and Kareem, but there were some other role players as well that he had to pass the ball to. And I like that about Magic's ability to be diverse and to operate within the realms of business and mental success.
I mean, his team had one of the guys who we automatically know he always had an invite to the cookout, Kurt Rambis.
Always.
You remember some of the fights with the Celtics? Kurt Rambis was like, we are doing this.
We're doing this.
We hit that.
You're talking about the 80s. I mean, Magic was the 80s. And then Jordan came in late 80s and was the 90s.
Yeah.
And Jordan said it himself. They had to get past a few teams in the East, and you know you look at his documentary. They had to get past Bird and the Celtics, and they had to get past
check the record. I'd like to go back to that, Mr. Johnson.
and Detroit.
He never made it past Bird during a year that Bird had a good back. Go ahead, check the record.
I checked the record on that. Hey,
Yeah,
let's bring up some stats. Let's
Yeah.
bring up some stats. Remember the video game came out, Magic versus Bird?
Oh, I do. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Are you talking about 88, 89-ish?
Oh, man, that was a great game.
Man, yeah, you got to go back and pull that out. But anyway, I think it was the Celtics and it was Detroit, because of course you have the Isaiah Thomas led Detroit Pistons.
Yes.
During that time, and they had just come off a championship, and they were tough in the East. Back to back. And so he talked about it in his documentary. And if he wanted to win, they had to beat the big boys. And I think they actually finally beat Detroit to go into the championship. So yeah, just some great stuff. But yeah, Jordan came to DC for a little while. And we've seen some people come and go, but I think Magic's ownership abilities, and because he's up on another level, takes him to the stratosphere.
So you said some key words in there, him being successful, his business acumen. Those are some of the items why I also believe he wanted to come over once the opportunity was there. Let me tell you, a little inside information from living in Los Angeles. That brother owns like half of it. I'm impressed that you knew about the theaters. Of all the Krispy Kreme in the city, I only went to the one that he owned. That's the one I went to. I drive. Well, it is a driving town, anyways. It was officially, it was built to be the driving city. For those who don't know about Los Angeles, because I know when this is distributed, you've got some international folk. But yeah. I think this was an opportunity for him he dominates the West Coast.
Oh, yeah.
Get my fingers in over him, like you said, the nation's capital, the East Coast, and then use this as a launching pad. So very strategic of him. So, Mr. Johnson, you're sorry, I'm talking to Mr. Johnson. Magic Johnson, you're welcome that we brought you on in. Let's see if we can help you out. Help you build.
Yeah, help me build.
Yeah, anything we can do. So let's go back to some other quick items here.
Okay.
All right. When it comes to the current state of affairs, Sam Howell leads all passers in yardage. Is that the enemy effect? Is that the young man's talent? Is this the launch pad of a dynasty? You got that rookie contract in the offseason. Maybe you dumped Young and Sweat so you can have some opportunities. What excitement do you have off of Sam Howell? I know I didn't mention Bieniemy. Off of where we are 10 games in and him having the most passing yards out of everyone.
It's crazy. And the crazy thing about it is that he's still on a rookie deal. He's in the second year of his rookie deal. He didn't play the first year because, as we all know, Taylor Heineke played last year.
Yes.
And then, of course, Wentz was benched. And then the last game of the season, they had kind of released Wentz by this point. And Taylor says, let this guy play. I think he's got what it takes. And he came in and whooped the snot out of Dallas. And that was an eye raiser. So from that point, we were all looking forward to it and say, you know what, this guy has got an arm on him. He's got the legs to run for touchdowns. He's got a killer instinct. He has ability. Even when he's going to make rookie mistakes, he's going to grow from those mistakes. And even made one on Sunday where he should have slid after he picked up the first down, ended up fumbling the ball. But I think in terms of yardage that you're mentioning, 2,700 yards, 10 games in, leading the league. Yeah. I think that's a mixture of his ability. The guy can make all the throws, dump offs, short, medium, long range. When you look at that pass to De'Ami Brown to tie the game, it was a thing of complete beauty. I think if you give this man time, he's going to be very good for years to come. He's very good now. He's going to actually go from good to great. I think Bieniemy hasn't had an impact on him because if you look at the amount of throws he's making, he's leading the league in attempts. And that's one of the points of contention and points of disagreement in the group because everybody wants to run the ball.
I think beautiful backs.
Yeah, you got two, and then you saw what happened when you started rushing Robinson and he started picking up chunks of yardage. You got to have a healthy balance.
Yes,
And
you
one
do.
thing I said last year, right when Bieniemy got here, I said you're going to have to make the best, and you're going to have to know how to use Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson.
Yes.
If you can do that with a level of sophistication yet simplicity, and get the best out of those two running backs, you can win some games. I didn't know that the defense was going to take steps back, but to your
Yeah.
question, I think Bieniemy has had a major impact on that with the plays that he's calling. I think his ability to actually execute the plays called, and I think that the receivers he's thrown to. I mean, we got weapons for days.
Oh,
I mean, you got 4 or 5 good receivers, and most teams only have maybe 2.
4 or 5 deep. That
Deep,
any of those guys,
yeah.
I feel confident with their hands, their ability, their athleticism. All right. I want to come back to a few things here.
Okay.
2023
hmm
draft picks, first round, Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State, cornerback, then safety, then center, then guard, then defensive end, KJ Henry out of Clemson, then Chris Rodriguez Jr., running back out of Kentucky, Andre Jones, outside linebacker from Louisiana. When that happened, how secure did you feel?
I felt very secure because of, first of all, the front four with Payne, Allen, and Sweat and Chase. Even though
Yeah.
Chase was coming off of an injury, I felt as though he'd be back to form. And the people that we were drafting were role players behind this line.
Okay.
So I felt like with these 4 guys on the line that were all first round draft picks, I thought it's okay. You can kind of plug and play a Forbes. You can plug and play a Henry, a Jones, or whoever you brought in on the defense because it was being anchored by the defensive line. And so I was okay with their picks. I did think they should have gotten a better linebacker. My thought was linebacker at the pick that we picked Forbes. I think he was at 13 or 14, something like that.
16.
16.
Not bad. Close. Yeah, 16.
And so I was thinking linebacker, and I was thinking back to the previous year before when we got Jamin Davis. I wanted Micah Parsons, who we all know went 2 picks before Jamin Davis, and we see how much of a menace he is on the field.
Yes.
That's the kind of person that I wanted on this defense. And Jamin Davis, unfortunately, to me, from my perspective, is not a first-round talent. He shines at times. He makes plays at times, but they are very few and far between. They're not consistent. You can't find him when you need him, and he, to me, is not a game changer, or he's not a playmaker. Like, I know he's going to make a play on this 3rd and 5.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even know he's in the game or not. And so, but based on your question, I thought that that draft was a decent draft because we were being anchored by all the talent on the defensive line. Now, 2 of those guys are gone.
Yes.
One went to Chicago and one went to San Francisco. And so have those other guys that were role players now, have they stepped up? I haven't seen it yet, even though it's just been one game. And so I do think that the defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio, is doing a terrible job getting these defensive players ready to play and then scheming them and calling the right blitzes. If you give any quarterback that much time that you gave Geno Smith on Sunday, they're going to pick you apart. I don't care who he is or what his name is. He's going to pick you apart. And so now you've got Daniel Jones out for the year. I think Tyrod Taylor's hurt. I think Giants are like on their 3rd quarterback. You go in, we got to play the Giants on Sunday. And my prayer is that they don't leave these guys hanging around and make it a close game when you saw how bad they are when they got blown out by the Giants 43-17, whatever the score was. You got to talk about this at one point, getting up to play for teams and going down to play for teams, because the 2 games you played the Eagles, it could have gone either way.
Yes, it could have.
So then you played Chicago and you stink up the joint. And you play the Giants and you stink up the joint again. And so my thing, when you talk about the up and down seesaw component of that, it's mental, and the coach is not preparing his teams to play. And I just think it's Jack Del Rio's time to go, unfortunately, because the players have either quit on him or they don't believe in him. And then the defenses that you're calling, it's more of a prevent. But nevertheless, to answer your question, I thought the draft was decent. I would have gone linebacker to pair them with Jamin Davis, and because we can see the Cody Barton acquisition was a failure as well. But nevertheless, I'll leave it there.
I'm very curious. You already mentioned the Giants. I was going to get there.
Okay.
They are 32nd in the league as far as scoring at only 11.8 points. Their defense, they give up 26.6 points. They only throw for 145 yards.
Sheesh.
Now their rushing attack is vaunted. They're in the top 15 at least in their rushing.
I mean, that's all Saquon.
I will agree with you. Don't leave him hanging around.
Don't leave him hanging around.
Put your foot on the throat and dominate. I believe that has to be the mindset going in. You can't let a guy this DeVito guy who didn't even throw for 100 yards, if I remember correctly, last week. Still threw 2 touchdowns, but come on, that's
unreal.
You can't.
Unreal. And the bad part about this is that they had 3 or 4 offensive linemen hurt when we played them. We were playing second string offensive linemen. So I'm thinking, oh, this defense is going to eat. We're going to have 4 or 5 sacks. At the time, Chase and Montez were here. Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. I was like, oh, man, we're going against backups. The whole offensive line is just backups. We're going to eat. Yeah. We could not muster any pressure. Tyrod Taylor looked like the second coming of Lamar Jackson. And for some reason, the Giants have our number, and they feel confident that they're going to beat us. I don't care who they trot on that field. It could be a second, third stringer. They feel like we can beat these Washington bums. That's their mindset. You could tell it in their body language. You could tell it in their energy. They want to win, and they know that they can win.
We have that win, but 14-7, it's not dominant.
No.
It's a win. It's something in the win column.
Offense has picked up since then, but if you hold a team to 14 points, you're supposed to win.
Yeah. All right. So I want to go back to let's talk the record. If you'll allow me, I'd like to play the woulda, coulda, shoulda game.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go to the losses. Bills 37-3. Not sure what happened there. Not interested. But you follow it up the next week with the Eagles lose 34-31. I always feel this way though, Joe. I believe that when the Eagles at that time were still undefeated, if I remember correctly, I think they made it to about 6-0 before they finally lost. No one expected us to be in the game. These guys just went to the Super Bowl. You go for 2 to win the game and not to go to overtime because you're playing with house money. You weren't supposed to be in that situation anyway. What's anyone going to say to you afterwards, especially when your name is Riverboat Ron? You get to say, oh, I wanted to gamble, or I had the confidence of my team. We did this. And I mean, at that point, the Eagles had scored so much. You can't say, oh, I knew my defense was going to stop us, so to go to overtime, we're going to get the stop. You know how it turned out. What say you, 34-31? How do you feel about that in hindsight?
I think that was the game where he said they were gassed. Was that the game?
That was the game. Yeah, I don't know why you would say that.
I heard Pat McCaffrey. I think the guy that comes with the black T-shirt. He said Ron Rivera doesn't know when to use his inside voice versus his outside voice, and that means some stuff should just be kept in your head.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The whole comment about Eric Bieniemy being too hard on the offense, that should have been kept in your inside voice. Keep that in house. Don't leak that out to the media. For him to go out and say, I didn't go for 2 because we were gassed. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
These guys are paid millions of dollars to execute. And if I need to go for 2 as a coach, I'm going for 2.
And
it's just stuff that he said to the media that has really bothered me, huh?
Don't you think the defense was tired too?
The defense was
guys are gassed. They're gassed too.
Come up with a different scheme so you guys aren't gassed.
You're Blitz. 4 or 5 wide receivers deep. Let me tell you, on the other side, they don't have 4 or 5 starting cornerbacks deep. So their cornerbacks, their number 1 guys on each side, are gassed. Give it to them.
I'm putting out 5 wide.
We know.
And I'm throwing it up.
Those quarterbacks need to be tested.
They
I
need to be
mean,
tested.
CeeDee Lamb just dropped 191 yards on those cornerbacks. What we scared of?
My strategy would be 2 tight end sets the entire game. I'm putting Logan Thomas on one side,
Yes, sir.
and then I'm putting either Cole Turner or John Bates on the other side.
Yes.
I'm running Curtis Samuel if he's healthy. I'm running Terry. I'm running Jahan. Crowder has filled in handsomely, even though he dropped a first down last week.
He did.
I got De'Ami Brown. You're seeing Brian Robinson catch the ball in space. He did marvelously. And the guy that I'm still rooting for, even though he's got fumbling issues, Antonio Gibson. Get him the ball in space. As you see on Sunday, both Robinson and Gibson scored. 2 running backs scored. And so you're talking about game planning. You're talking about scheme. You're talking about personnel. The Giants are very beatable, and this is a winnable game. At the end of the day, you should be 5-6 at the end of the conclusion of this game.
Should be.
And then going to play Dallas on Thanksgiving, which is still a winnable game if you scheme it right. Because Dak's not the best quarterback in the world. He's having an up-down season as well. And so if you can neutralize him, get to him early and often, and that's any quarterback. Dial up the blitzes. And then on offense, if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm putting together, okay, I want to take time off the clock. I want to keep their offense off the field. I want to gas their defense. And eventually, by the time I get to the third quarter, their defense is giving up. I'm up 2 scores, and there's nothing that they can do. And so we've got to be able to scheme the games correctly and call the right personnel. But I'm putting in 2 tight end sets all day.
Coming out of that, they knocked off Belichick. I'll always root for that. I can remember the record-setting year that Brady had. Then they dropped 50 on us on that year. I'm still remembering that.
That one stung.
So 20-17, I'll take that, especially when Belichick is getting dunked on by everybody this year. I'm glad we was able to do that. Seahawks 29-26, making Geno Smith look good. They only got 1 sack on Geno. Gave up 3 to Seattle. Coming out of that game, do you have any positives that you look at Seattle? Rookie quarterback at an away game, the 13th man. They are loud. It is a loud stadium. It's one of the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
How do you?
I came out of that game, even though we lost. It was a brief sting because the way Sam Howell played in that game gave you an indication of what we have to look forward to. The fact that he threw for 300 and some odd yards, maybe 350, 3 touchdowns, 2 to running backs and 1 to a receiver. Terry was catching passes. Jahan did drop a couple. Crowder dropped a couple. Logan Thomas was playing pretty decently. And I saw a reemergence of the run game. I actually felt like, okay, we just went toe-to-toe with a playoff team. Okay. We went toe-to-toe against the Eagles. And we should have won some games. Of course, the Chicago game comes to mind and the Giants game comes to mind. Oh. But in terms of positives, I think that we're finally turning a corner offensively. And I think Sam Howell is really starting to get into a rhythm now with his receivers. I think the running game, if you stay committed to it, can be very dangerous. The thing that shined the most for me is the running backs catching the ball out of the backfield this season. That's been very, very missing from the fabric and from the core of this offense over the last couple of seasons. Brian Robinson has surprised me altogether. I mean, I think the guy had a $150 between passing and catching on Sunday. So I think the emergence of seeing the running backs catch out of the backfield has been a very promising sign for me. 11
catches for those backs out of the backfield. 119 yards for Brian Robinson on his
119.
119, yeah. What I'm going to say in a positive way, it's an extension of the run game because they 14 rushes for 68 yards. You can't win doing that. But
you can't win doing that. But I think what Eric Bieniemy is trying to do is get up a score and run when you have the lead versus running to get the lead. And I think that because of his approach to offense when he was offensive coordinator at Kansas City, we're seeing the same style of offense. And once Sam gets this playbook down, this offense is going to be averaging 33 points a game. Easily. Right now, they're hovering at 25-ish, 24, 25-ish. My prognostication was that they'd be averaging 27, and they're close to that. They've done that both times with the Eagles. They scored over 30 on the Eagles, and the Eagles are the NFC defending champions.
Yes, sir.
And they went toe to toe with Seattle. So I feel like if you can give me a middle of the road defense where you can keep teams to 20, 21 points a game, then you can win 10, 11 games easy.
So help me out then. Tell me how you feel. Seattle rushed 26 times, 120 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Geno threw for 369. And they had two receivers, DK Metcalf and Lockett, both go for over 90 yards, 92 and 98 yards between the two of them. 7 and 8 catches between the two of them. That's a lot of catches.
That's a lot
for those two. We already know those are the ones that are going to kill us.
Of course.
So what say you about the that's by the way, that was 22 targets that Geno sent to those two. And out of the 22, 15 went for catches. So how good do you feel that Geno Smith looked that good? No interception for Geno.
He played a decent game. I won't take that away from him. I think a lot of his success, though, was based on the lack of pressure from the Washington defense. And you got to also throw this in there that Emmanuel Forbes got ejected around the beginning of the second quarter, into the first quarter. So that impacted how you covered these guys. And of course, Danny Johnson's not Emmanuel Forbes. And of course, you got Percy Butler back there. But he's not Derek Forrest. So it impacted the game. But you knew coming in that these were their leading receivers and that you had to neutralize them. And I don't think Jack Del Rio did enough to neutralize them. We gave away a couple of drives, the Crowder drop for first down.
Yes.
I think we had to end up punting it. And then, of course, when Sam picks up the first down and he fumbles, they get the ball right back. Even though they didn't score, it took about 2 minutes off the clock before we got the ball back.
Yeah.
And so opportunities were there. I just think that offensively, you're getting there. Defensively, you're nowhere near where you're supposed to be. I read a chart, I read a graphic that Washington has given up 12 touchdowns to teams outside of the red zone. And I think when you talk about that successful rushing game that they had one rush that went for about 40, 50 yards for a touchdown because the linebacker was out of position. So defensively, you got to do something better. I don't like this 5-2 scheme at all. You just got to get some decent linebackers, and I say you go back to the 4-3. I think you need to have more pressure up front. And I see why Chase is gone. I see why Montez is gone, because even when all four of those guys were playing, you still weren't generating pressure. You weren't looking like I got 4 first-round picks on my defensive line. They just did not look like an all-around defense like they looked last year. Last year, they were in the top 6, 7 defenses. This year, they're nowhere near it. You're in the bottom quadrant of the league in terms of people just being able to run on you and throw on you all day. And so that's got to speak to coordinating. These are the same players year over year. And so there's got to be something that's a little bit off kilter in terms of communication, or because you did not do your due diligence in getting the right players on the field, either via draft or free agency.
Upcoming schedule. Does anything scare you? I just want to say the Dolphins, and we know that they can put up 70.
Any given Sunday
at the end of the year on New Year's Eve. What say you about those two games?
Somebody said that we could still go 10-6, 11-6, whatever. That's highly unlikely, very improbable. I do think that we'll play better in some of those games. Like I said, we get up for games and then we get down for games. 49ers, Chase is going to want to get back. He's going to want some of that get back when we play Chase. But I think it's still a winnable game. The 49ers have just bounced back from losing 3 straight. So they're a beatable team. And every team now is dealing with injuries. So I looked at the injury report. We had 1 guy on the injury report last week. And Seattle had about 10 guys on there. Well, that didn't stop them because they still won the game.
Yes.
So nobody really scares me, to answer your question. I think Dallas is winnable. You just have to be able to neutralize them defensively. I think even Miami is beatable. They haven't gone undefeated this year. Find out who beat them and what they did to beat them. But you've got to be able to hang some points on the board. You can't just score 20 points and think you're going to win any of these games from here on out, whether you're at home or on the road. So you've got to hover around the 27, 30 points a game mark, and your defense is going to have to just play their A game the rest of the season. You can't shoot for the head and target head, head hunters, things of that nature, which I thought was a really, really bad call for him to be ejected. And other teams are doing some of the same stuff and same style of hitting, and they don't even get a penalty. So, I feel like, if you can tweak some things defensively, I would go back to the 4-3. I would bring Jabril Cox up as a linebacker and coach him up and get him in position, because we need linebackers more than anything else. The middle of the field is wide open. And so if you're like me, I'm just really tired of seeing guys get first downs when they really shouldn't. And so Dallas is beatable. Yeah. San Fran is beatable. Miami's beatable. But you just got to put everything together. So offensively, I'm not concerned. I think it's more or less the defense that I'm concerned about.
All right. Quick pivot. I noticed in some photos that I have, which everyone would have seen by this time in the reel, HL. What does HL stand for? And would that swag is looking very serious. Talk to me about that. Oh, looks like
Oh, I'm sorry about that. So yes, HL is my fashion line, and it stands for Henry Lewis, and it is a new swag, a new chic, elegant, classy, DC born and bred fashion line that I was able to create. Of course, being a designer, we went to design school together, and just kind of put my thoughts and my creativity into a fashion and wanting to offer something for the hometown guy, but I think it has the international flair. So you can find some pieces on the website, henry-lewis.com. And let's do the thing up, man. I got to get you some pieces.
Yeah, I like threads. I like to look good. And so
yeah, it's more of a dress down thing. We're not doing suits or anything like that. I let those guys have that. The Armanis and even Michael Strahan has a really nice suit line. I'm more into the comfort, hoodies, sweatshirts, sweatpants, hats, things of that nature, socks. It's more of an accessories line, but I feel like it's something that I just wanted to kind of put together myself. These are pieces that I'm picking out and I'm kind of creating, and hoping that in the leisure of the world, when it's time to do leisure, when it's time to dress down, travel, things of that nature, you can dress the best with Henry Lewis.
So far, I mean, there's been 2 companies that reached out to me. I mean, to be a brand ambassador, I can't say I would be against it. I just came in from my 9 to 5, but
let's talk. Let's talk and see what we can do, man, to materialize it.
Something tells me you need a model out here. Everything's bigger in Texas. It's a big state.
Definitely.
I'm in the state capital. I mean, I think if there's anybody that needs to have that
definitely. Let's
your boy. So yeah,
let's link up. Let's link up.
I was interested, so thank you for that. All right, so let's get to another quick item, and this time has flown. I got to get to another quick item. I'm very curious here. International participants in your Facebook group. I'd like a quick shout out. I'd like to know. I want to know. Check in. Where did that turn out from? Some of those people that checked in when you sent the call out.
Man, I can't even begin to tell you. I just know that they were all over the place. I had Texas in the room, Florida in the room.
Yeah.
I think somebody's from Canada. Somebody's from somewhere overseas. And I think I put the comment out and I had about 300 responses.
Wow.
And so what I've got to do now is, put those in a document. And we got it's not a fan base, but it's a fam base, a family base.
Yes.
And I think that if you're in any one of these cities and you needed a guide, or you needed to talk to someone, or you needed help, or you needed some support, I think these fans would come. Whether that's, hey, what's a good restaurant, or any idea on what hotel I should stay at. I think that this becomes a fan book.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it becomes a fan or fam book where we can look each other up. If I'm in your backyard, hey, I'm here for the weekend, let's go grab a bite. type
Yes.
thing. I've got people that offer me, hey, when you're in the city, let's link up, and I think, you develop a camaraderie with fellow fans that are not in your local area. And I think that's big, especially when you're traveling and you may
Yes.
not know the layout or landscape of a city, what restaurants stay away from or what areas of the city I should stay away from.
Yeah.
Reach out to some of these people and say, hey, I'm here. Let's hook up, let's link up, even if it's just for a couple of hours, grab a bite or whatever the case may be. So I feel like any fan group can do that. And I've got some ideas, man. I got some things that are in the hopper, man, I want to talk to you about. So let's chat.
Yeah. I'm very interested. I think that with the reach, for people all over America, those international fans that are in the group, I want you guys, I'm talking to them, I want you guys to stay focused. I lived in Germany. I played semi-pro American football when I was in Germany. As you saw, the NFL was just in Frankfurt. Germans love American football.
Oh, really?
Here to tell you, they love it. Fans come out of the woodwork. When we would go to small little towns to play, our bus would stop. Our coach would go into the restaurant, talk a little business, tell them, hey, maybe asking for a discount or whatever. Just telling them, hey, this is what happens when people know that we're coming. So write on your little sandwich sign, put it out front. American football team stopping here after they play their game. And we show up. And we go to smaller towns sometimes. We show up, the town shows up.
Wow.
These little villages that we're at, they all come out. Because one, Lujo, how many people say, hey, I'm going to take a summer vacation. I'm going to Germany. Nobody. They try to go to the Caribbean, right?
Not many.
Ain't nobody trying to do that.
Not
so
many.
Then when you think of that, also, we talked about demographics. You are what you are. I am what I am, right? How many people in our circle who look like us say, oh, I'm going to Germany? Again,
Nobody.
Slim to none.
Very slim.
So when I'm in these establishments, the Germans are coming up and they again, these are not the big, they're not the Frankfurt. They're not the big cities over there. And so these people are saying, hey, you're the first guy I've met because no one comes to our town. It's not a tourist town. And it's incredible. It's incredible. They love us. So if there are any German fans, check in.
Definitely.
Let Lujo know. Back me up on this.
Absolutely. Germany's a great place to go.
I'd like for other people to kind of learn that also.
Okay.
All right.
Definitely.
So I need to cause a little drama here. I told you this wasn't going to be hard hitting, but I'm out of line because here it is.
All right.
Top 5 dead or alive Commanders players.
Top 5?
Top 5.
So I'll go from descending order. I'll say 5. I got to go with John Riggins.
Ooh.
Alive. 4, I've got to go with, man, this is tough.
Yeah.
I got to go with Art Monk. Man, this is tough. 3, I got to go with I got to go with a 3-way tie because I got to go with the 3 quarterbacks who won Super Bowl. So you're talking Joe Theismann, Doug Williams, Mark Rippon. If I could put them all on the 3 stage. 2, I'm going to have to say Darrell Green. He had that much of an impact on the field. 1, I think if he were still alive today, he'd be going into the Hall of Fame, and that's going to be Sean Taylor.
Yeah.
That's my 5. There are so many other people I could probably put in as honorable mention, but in terms of just picking 5 off the cuff, I got to go with those guys.
I did ask Doug Williams the other day.
Did you?
Was Darrell Green the fastest player you ever saw?
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah. Did you see the video of him racing? They had a relay, an NFL relay, and he came out number 1. He
I
beat
don't remember the relay, but I remember the NFL's fastest man competitions.
maybe that was it.
I remember
think he
those.
beat Bo Jackson.
Oh, I used to watch those. He beat Rod Woodson, who was
Rod
fast.
Woodson.
He
I was
beat
like, oh my gosh, this
Willie
dude.
Galt.
Willie
He took
Galt.
the ball on.
He was walking them down. Do you
If
hear
he
me?
went there, he won it.
He won it. They knew when Darrell Green's it's over.
What a talent. Okay, so you made it through that. I know
Yeah.
that was hard.
That was
I can't
tough.
wait when you post this to the group. I can't wait for look, you were saying that they keep it classy. They may not be keeping it classy after that top 5. I'm here for that.
We're gonna see. But I always preface this by saying this is my perspective.
It's you.
You are free to have your perspective,
you.
and I'm not going to be mad at you. And I think we force our perspectives on people. Like you have to see it my way, and you have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me, sweetheart. You don't have to agree with me, brother. You know, these are my opinions, my perspectives. You are free to have your own.
Thank you. We can get so far in the world if we
absolutely
realize that.
Absolutely.
All right. I asked all my guests this. I believe in the 6 degrees of separation. Who is the most interesting person in your life? And what will you do to help me get them on this podcast?
The most interesting person in my life.
And I'm not saying they got to be famous. Like if you, well, we talked about Boris, but like you can say, oh, I know a famous guy, Boris. Like
definitely not Boris.
Interesting. like you're in awe of, or they blow your mind.
I think we talked about it. I think we get Magic on here. I think you can really get some in-depth questions answered if you were able to get Magic Johnson on this platform.
But the second part was, what steps are you going to take to help?
I can reach out to him. On Twitter. I've made a couple of tweets or the X platform, and I've tagged him in there. He's not responded to any of them, but I'm pretty sure he's seen them. And so I can reach out to him and say, hey, this is the platform, up and coming show. I think the fans want to hear a little bit more from you in terms of visibility, and they want to hear what it is you have to say because they trust your voice. And because they trust your voice, we want to put you out there on platforms that give you the opportunity to say what you need to say. Give us some hope. Give us some understanding. Give us some clarity as it relates to this organization, because we were fans before you got here, and we're going to be fans if you ever leave. So I think this is a type of mechanism and infrastructure that we need to kind of pour into so that we can get the fans to really, really get a gist of what's going on behind the scenes.
Mr. Johnson, you've been amazing. The time, unfortunately, has crept to the end.
Let's go to part 2.
It's coming. It's coming. I always ask, what items would you like to leave our group? And I always like to give an example so you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from. If you've got a motto, if you've got a life mantra, that's fine. But there was something that you mentioned earlier about keeping it classy. No fratricide amongst each other when it comes to us as fans. And then even at the end, you just alluded to the fact that we all can have a difference of opinion. It is our opinion. So those would be examples, but I don't want to lead you. What would you like to leave our listeners?
If you're talking about football, this is a game that we love, but it's a game that we cannot control. In order for us to cook the chicken, which is something that I use to get the job done.
Yeah.
In order for us to cook the chicken continuously, you got to keep the grease hot, and you got to be ready to jump into the fire, and get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
And so if that means, grassroots, if that means, getting more fans in the door, if that means holding on to your season tickets so that the stadium's not filled up with fans from other teams, Philadelphia fans, Dallas fans, do your due diligence and let's stand behind the team. Let's support them, win, lose, or draw. And I think it's going to work. I think it's going to make it work. If we pray together, we'll stay together.
I like it. Sir, thank you for your time. I can't wait for the next. And let's post it. I want everyone to comment, and they're going to be ready.
They're going to be ready. Let's do it. I want
to talk roster.
We're going to get real juicy. Yeah.
I want to talk about hypotheticals for this upcoming draft. I can't wait to find out about your opinion at the end of this Giants game, and then maybe even going into this Cowboy. You know what? Yeah, we
got some things to talk about coaching possibilities for next season as well.
Yes, sir. There's so much.
Yeah,
I'm
all over.
That's definitely want to know.
They want to know. Thank you so much for the invitation, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Looking forward to it. Have a great rest of the day.
Peace.